this gentleman at the gas station, he was like, we didn't do that. He says Muslims didn't do that.
It wasn't one. The extremists would have loved to have been involved.
Well, they would have loved to have taken.
Right. Because they tried the first time to blow it up from the bottom.
Right.
With the truck.
Right.
So they can be easily blamed because they're wackos and they do crazy shit. That's the ones you want to blame.
Well, that's the 15% that are the troublemakers,
Right.
Because the other 85% aren't really concerned about world domination. They just
That's
want,
right. They give me the money and let me run.
I know. Is that a pork burger? I'll have to pass on that one. But,
right. Go eat the other one.
Yeah,
right.
give me the regular beef.
Right.
I'll eat that.
By the way, they like their pork if you tell them it's beef.
I don't want that kind of
No,
trouble.
I know, right?
So,
I gave him a beef jerky.
Yeah, wink, wink. Yeah.
So you're interested because usually if I open my mouth, there's got to be some kind of a basis for it, right?
Well, I'm sure there's a book, but I just find that just really.
There's 4 of them she wrote.
Well, let's look at it sometime.
Yeah, take a look at it. You let me know.
But this is just where power has corrupted. We talked about
Right.
that. That's what happens
Right.
in the last stages of the decline of nations.
Absolutely.
Is this power corrupts and takes things over. But the people who are dispassionate about things and are the what we want to call the tolerant folks, the empathetic group, usually led by the liberal women who think that, the world is such a kumbaya place.
Sure.
They've never seen the underbelly
That's
of
right,
the
of
world.
a beast, right? What Islam is doing to Europe and us is 1,000-fold more disgusting than the Twin Towers coming down.
Oh, I firmly
Am I
believe.
right or wrong?
Well, I am. I'm firmly in agreement on that. And I told folks after the Twin Towers came down, they said, "Oh, this is exactly what was in your prophecy." I said, "No, it's far worse than that."
Right.
I said the Twin Towers are not that.
No.
And that Michael Brown is a website. He was like, "Oh, it can't be any worse than." I said, "Dude, it's far worse than 2 buildings."
We're experiencing it.
I said we're talking about your entire, successive generations of children
collapsing.
I said the whole ideology and thought process about the risk and reward system for building this country is all out the window.
Right.
Then I said, it's going to happen right before your eyes. And it is. And we were talking about how do you undermine an old building with a drop of water? You repeat the process.
Over and over.
It's like having a gutter leak that's coming down on a certain splash block or a piece of your driveway, and it leaks every day, drip.
Absolutely.
Right. After time, that driveway is going to disintegrate.
Right.
It'll take time, but it'll work on it. It'll do it. It's the drip factor. No one pays any attention to it, and that's what
until the dike blows.
Everything falls over.
The evil will unite itself with anybody and anything that wants to hate and to destroy innocence and children and civilizations. They want to destroy. They don't want to build. It doesn't matter if it's Islam, or if it's a Mussolini with the fascist, or if it's a Hitler with the Nazi socialist, or if it's communism under Lenin and world. It doesn't matter whether it's a rogue general in the Air Force that participates in undercutting, or a senator. It doesn't matter. Evil will unite itself with a broken and desperate and demonic humanity. And apparently there's more demons that have been released to begin to manipulate that in darkness even more today and in this time that we live.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy what's going on. Even the perceptions and all, like they're being defended by the people who want to keep protecting the guilty. For these things like that shooter in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking to an expert, and the expert referred to the shooter as a he. Okay, and then it was on NPR radio, and then when the segment ended, the host stepped in and says, "Oh, there was an inadvertent error in that last report.
You got to be kidding me.
Signaling out the shooter as a he when it's a her."
They're still buying into that crap, huh?
Oh yeah, but had to take time to make that designation so they didn't come off of,
Were they afraid they were going to be sued?
they're afraid they were going to be looked at poorly by their audience, who are these sympathetic,
Yeah.
blue
Woke.
hair,
Right.
nose ring gang, and these intellectually superior feminazis type of thing that's going on. That they've never built anything; they've only used and consumed, but they have this direct idea about how things are, just as I do. But you know what? I've built a shitload of stuff in my lifetime.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I've destroyed some things in my lifetime only in order to build more things.
That's
There's
right.
a big difference
Right.
that goes on with that.
Sure.
And so, like I said before, God builds, the devil destroys.
Right.
So we have to pay attention to these things as it's going on. Who wants to try to destroy and change the successful formulas that we've had for years
Right.
building this country? Well, part of it, we're self-destructing because of the 8 steps. We got apathetic.
Right.
We got fat, got lazy. We got used to things, and we stopped working. And that's one of the things we have to do is we have to get back working. We have to expect people to work. I don't mind giving people help with their welfare, their living costs and things like that.
Right.
But they need to show up a few days a week. And do work.
Even if you get, if they're supporting you, there should be some work involved. The
Right.
same thing. If
They feel better about themselves.
so, and you can even be like a person that watches other people's kids while
Right.
they go to work.
Right.
You got to something.
There's
you
a
gotta
place
do.
for everyone inside the tent, as we say. They want to talk about these big tents. Well, everyone needs to contribute. It just goes without saying that if everyone contributes, everyone enjoys the rewards, and everyone has this feeling of contentment and belonging. And that's all being ripped away from us by our government is using this, but what they want to do is fracture us and divide us here with this identity politics. And now they're trying to go even further with their identity politics. Now they're not just trying to divide us into racial groups of black, white, brown, yellow, whatever it may be. Now they want to have subsets of the blacks community because they got black men who would only vote liberal, but now you got black men that are going conservative. We call them based. They're conservative based. They're not buying into the woke ideology. They're not buying into the whole trans thing. They're real men, and they're saying, no, man, I'll work for my pay. I'll take care of my kids. I'm not walking out.
They say that.
And they're at odds with the other folks in the black community.
It's amazing. They're saying that if they go into Chicago and they clean up those areas in Chicago with this, Trump's intervention in the cities and stuff.
Oh, it's just making a presence.
But they're saying that the blacks really want them to come in. Is that true?
I believe
they're
it is.
They're tired of these.
I believe
gangs?
it is. They want their streets back. They want to be able to go out after 6 o'clock at night.
Sure, they used to play. They used to have fun like we did.
Yeah.
In the street or around
Kids
the block.
can't play in the
Right.
street. They can't even walk down to the convenience store.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Not after a certain time, but even during the day,
It's
it's
problem.
tough. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the women are not treated well. The kids are recruited. They're being groomed. Things like that. It's a dangerous place when you've got all this evil sort of delectable or
Well, you were from Chicago.
well, I lived there quite a bit, and I got all around with the work I did. I saw
Right.
all the neighborhoods.
Okay.
So
This is based on your own experience.
oh yeah, I saw the changes, and I had to pay people protection to watch my van.
Oh my goodness.
You pull up, you rip a $20 bill in half.
Watch
You
my
give
car.
him half of it. When you come back, he gets the other half.
Oh, you got to. That's right. Otherwise, they take your money. They don't want your car.
Yeah, they take the money
I
and the
didn't-
all
I had to give them the 20 and then wondered why the car was gone.
No, you rip the $20 bill in half. You
Now
give
I
him
got-
half it. So when I come back, you get the other half.
Okay.
All you do is tape it together, take it to the bank. They could spend it.
There you go.
But that's the old secret of the street. And you had to decide whether a $10 bill would be enough to.
So you went into the hood.
Oh yeah,
What does hood mean? That's
Hood,
yeah.
the neighborhoods.
Oh, the neighborhoods. Okay.
Yeah, but it was it got pretty dark. But I was not put out. But this was back previous to 2000.
Before things really became.
Well,
unraveled.
it was bad then,
Yeah.
but it got
Nothing compared to.
nothing compared to now. There's
Okay.
no way I'd do the work now.
Okay.
I mean, even armed,
Really.
'cause I'd be outgunned by the neighborhood.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's just no way. There's no
No, I hear you. Right.
there's
Yeah.
no
You white boy.
no thinking on that.
Who that
And I
white
don't
boy?
think anyone's doing the recovery of that stuff because no one's getting credit. So that market's all dead.
What was it kind of market?
Well, it was asset recovery. If people finance stuff and then they went bankrupt,
Yeah.
they went to the court and says we want to just give it back, and I'd have to go pick it up for the
Okay.
court.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was my job. They gave me a little star to put on the side of the van and stuff like that. So who cares about a sticker?
Yeah. That's what some guy said. A lot of the police, they're on the radio. He goes, the radio ain't going to save you. And they end up dead talking. The radio goes, you got to pull your weapon and start defending yourself.
Well, you got to be aware of your surroundings, but don't trust what you see because it may not be what you think it is, and that's part of the problem. But it's the same thing with what's going on with this invasion we have going on. I mean, say goodbye to Michigan.
Yeah, it's very perplexing that this, and we're looking for that underpinning, that biblical prophecy that they're detailing how Europe is being taken and how the United States is being taken by Islam. And
I think Europe has maybe another 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gone on so
Before it's
fast.
complete.
We've taken over the elected positions in London, Birmingham, England, places like that. It's all being overwhelmed. They run enough people for office, and they get elected.
You can't do anything about it. They're elected.
And then they're
right.
in, and then they
Right.
start making their changes or stopping changes, and
It's their version of the Pelosi's, and
well, it's Sharia law.
it's worse.
It's Sharia law being put into place policy by policy. Little by little, they're getting used to it. And then the next thing they're working on here, and very soon, you're going to see some definite changes in your free speech. What can be said, what words can be used, things of this nature.
Coming down from where?
Well, government authorities. I mean, they're already arresting people in England for talking about the Sharia law being out of place. They call that inflammatory. And so they have these other standards they've enforced now. I think they call it Rule 50.
They don't have any balls to stand up to Islam,
No, they
but
don't.
they stand up to their own people.
No, they don't have. They don't have the capacity to stand up to it because they've given in so much, and they're so afraid of being voted out of office. They're too afraid of losing their elected status because all these politicians are making money.
Yeah,
Ilhan Omar.
I know, $29 million.
I mean, come on, how does this happen?
No, it's terrible.
We need
People keep on saying
we need further discussion and some questions about that.
We'll talk
How does
about
somebody
that,
of Ilhan Omar's intellectual capacity gather that kind of
money,
economic engine?
and nobody is looking up her ass either, right?
Well, she probably got tips from Pelosi or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah, no, you can't.
but it's very
The fact that
unbecoming.
Trump is even in power at this point is almost unbelievable. But we have so much corruption in both sides of the aisle, of senators, Congress people. You can't. A nation can't survive with that rot. It just can't. Good Lord's got to have something in mind to overturn this insanity, because we talked about it, the greed. Talked about in Decline of Nations, the greed, they can't get beyond it, the power, the money, and then they sit there with a shit-eating grin on their face like, you're not representing us. 29 million?
Yeah, well, where's your loyalty? at this point. Where's your
Well,
responsibility?
it's fun and games. It's like they're having fun. Look at her, fun and games. You know.
Well, you call them on it, and then they say, "Well, that's not happening. That's not what you think it is." And well, then describe it.
Yeah.
Explain it. Well, they don't need to because no one's feet are held to the fire on these things, and the media moves on. They'd rather worry about the bruises on the back of Donald Trump's hands,
Right.
which it's obviously the man's taking Coumadin. He was having swelling in his joints.
Is that for thinning his blood, right?
Yeah, when you got the swelling in your ankles and stuff like that,
Okay.
they give you Coumadin to get the water out,
Okay.
the water pills. But
Is that water pill Coumadin? Is that right?
yeah,
Okay.
it's a blood thinner,
Okay.
and so it's pulling water off the body. But this is what happens as tissues age and things like that. So you ought to see St. Rita's arms. She bumps into the refrigerator. It looks like she got mauled in a bear attack.
Okay.
She bruises up, and she's like, oh, don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that one. And but you just touch them, and they bruise.
Yeah.
Father Havel was the same way. He was on
He
Coumadin,
got older. Yeah.
and he would just bruise up, but the backs of the hands are always kind of red and bruised because they're smacking them around. All you got to do is just knock it in the back of a door,
And
and
he's
all of a
bruised.
sudden they're bruised.
Right.
But that's what Coumadin does.
Well, our Lord said that not to worry that I've overcome the world. The Blessed Mother is indicating that a plan is being put into place through Our Lady of America and divine indwelling and the reconversion of the world. So our Lord has something in mind for us. But we'll continue. I'll bring those books.
Yeah, I want to see this because
No,
I
but it's,
No, I wanna-
You're going to
see-
find it quite sobering.
want to see it
Well,
because
you're a sucker for the truth, and when you read this thing, you got either this lady is like phenomenal in uncovering this stuff, or she's a wacko. But as you begin to read and see how this lady proceeds, and you'll get more than I got out of it because you have a
yeah,
better
but
mind.
I just think, how do you quiet all these families, that had loved ones they lost on those
No,
planes?
some of them were lost. Well, they just told the families they crashed, and there's no bodies. We have nothing to give you. There was even, it's really crazy.
Well, I got to see this one. There's been some.
But we'll be tracking down these oddball things. I don't think anybody has really talked about. I saw her on the internet once where she talks a little bit about being on the Facebook or something like that. You actually have to go to her site and stuff. But and I have not heard the other thing, which is I find quite a problem, is like these big shows with these podcasts with Joe Rogan and all those guys. Mm-hmm. You ought to be aware of this stuff, and you ought to be talking to this lady and investigating these things. She's got something to offer, whether you believe it or not. You got to look at her data.
No, we'll just package it up and see if there's something there.
But none of them have talked about this. Alex Jones doesn't talk about this. Come on, you're the big honchos in this podcast business. You ought to talk to the lady. See what she's
he's down about $1 billion.
Well, don't talk to her then. Then you don't need another
So he's
lawsuit.
down about $1 billion. So he's probably got a reason not to look into too many.
Offbeat things.
We'll call
Sandy
it off.
Hook cost
We'll
them.
call it offbeat.
Sandy Hook cost them enough money.
Well, I don't even really know what all happened there with Sandy Hook, but it was a very emotional situation for a lot of people, and I think it was probably an emotional verdict too, or judgment.
For $500 million, what they
It was
charge?
$1 billion.
$1 billion, yeah.
It's an assassination of his business plan, but they say you can't speak anymore.
Right.
And this is how the new code of conduct is going to come down through fines and exacerbated, types of harassments
Right.
on people. But it's not just limited to people online. This will be in your own neighborhood. This is going to be, you're going to
Up
have
close and personal.
you'll have the block police, the local Karens will be looking for you. They already got it in England.
Well, in Japan they have what they call the speech police,
Yeah.
or the talk police.
Right.
That if you said something,
Right.
and your neighbor heard it, they would come and ask you, "Did you say this?"
Go talk to people in England right now.
Same thing is happening?
It's ridiculous.